Welcome to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories podcast, where Justine Martin, the Queen of Resilience, sits down with each incredible author featured in this highly anticipated anthology. In this captivating series, we delve into the depths of each author's chapter, exploring the hows and whys behind their desire to share their experiences with multiple sclerosis. Prepare to be inspired as these courageous souls recount their triumphs, their challenges, and the resilience that fuels their spirits.
Welcome back, listeners, to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories. Now, this one is a little bit different to everyone else's because I've got with me Suzie. How are you, Suzie?
I'm great, thank you, Justine. I'm actually, it's pretty amazing to be part of this, so I'm really excited to be chatting with you today.
So, a little bit of a rundown who Suzie actually is. She's normally my right-hand girl, but she's sitting on my left side today. And Suzie's been involved with this project right from my first brainstorm on it and has helped me immensely behind the scenes in doing some editing and the communications all with this project. Suzie, you've read a few of the chapters. You're one of the privileged ones at the moment that has had the opportunity to read them. How's that impacted you?
Yeah, I actually feel really privileged to start reading some of these chapters, and it's been really quite incredible. I mean, we have 26 authors that are actually in the book, and I've read a number of those, but it's an extraordinary read. Everyone's journey is different. And one of the biggest things that I found when I started working with Justine on this project is that everyone's journey is so different. And I read, from one chapter to the next, it really does blow my mind. And it's how raw and open everyone is about their journey and their growing up and how they've gone through different stages. So it is, I have to admit, and I think I have told you, a number of them have brought tears to my eyes, and it's taken me a little while to recover. But that's what I love about it, is that they're just so amazing. So they have blown me away.
I remember you ringing me and saying, "Oh my God, I've just read such and such as chapter, and I've got tears in my eyes." And I'm like, I didn't want to say good, but I think I did at the time. Good. This is. Yeah. This book is going to have an impact on so many lives because, MS Australia, Kiss Goodbye to MS, the MS Readathon have done such an amazing job in bringing awareness about MS. But the majority of the population don't know what we go through on a daily basis. Yeah. And I know prior to – Susie's been working with me now for a good couple of years. Yeah. And I think prior to working with me, you knew of MS, but you weren't really sure on the impact of what it does on a day-to-day basis. And that's what we're hoping that this book actually shows on what MS actually does to the individual. And because it is such a diverse disease, we all have this common link, but it affects us all so differently, and this book definitely helps that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my only dealings prior to this was really the MS Readathon, which went through, I think every primary school everywhere. So, but I had no idea of like the different types and the level and how different a journey can be from one person to the next. So it's certainly opened my eyes.
Yeah. And look, even for me, I have MS. My mum had MS, but still to read through the other 25 chapters on their remarkable stories. They're all penned so well and so raw and honest in what they're sharing. When we started this book, we wanted it to be as authentic as possible. So the editing process through this was only to fix up some of the grammatical errors in it, so full stops in the right place and, shortening sentences. That we know that there are some sentences in some of the chapters that are too long, but that's the way that they were written, and we wanted the author's voice to still be heard within those words. So when you're reading them, they'll all read a little bit differently because we are all different in that, and we didn't want it to sound the same from page 1 through to page 300 and whatever it is on there, and I think we've achieved that through the edits. And Karen Guest, who did the main editing of the book, has done an absolutely amazing job and has been so patient with us, because we've got 26 authors that have contributed into this, and we all have an acquired brain injury, so it's been challenging at times, and getting the edit back, and your words aren't quite where they were and stuff like that. So it's been a learning curve for all of the authors as well through it.
I know. And I think that's the best part of it, is that, even reading it as, with a communications background, I was like, wow, I don't want to change these words. These are real words coming out of someone's mouth, and how they feel about a situation and what they're personally experiencing. So I don't want that. I want that real side and being so authentic. So, and I think it's those words that then have, made me cry through it, because they're so powerful. You are transported to that place where they are. So absolutely. I love how we've put this together.
And there are swear words in some of the chapters. That was one of the, let me say that there are. That was one of the questions from the authors when they were doing it. Are we allowed to swear in the chapter? And it's like, well, don't overuse the words. And there were certain swear words that they weren't allowed to use. But there are a few swear words in there. And that is them talking from the heart and where they're at. And there is no other word that you could actually replace it with. So so we've left those in there. The whole process from concept to finish has just been, I don't want to cry over this, has been an absolute pleasure and an honor that these people have trusted in us to put their words into print, to make this a part of history in this book. The writing groups were great. I loved the writing groups. So we would meet 3-4 times a week, and everyone was up to different parts in their chapters, and none of the authors had read each other's chapters. I wanted to keep them separate. I didn't want each person comparing their chapters or their journey when they were writing them and then doubting whether they should have been in this book, because they are all equally part of the book. And it was an experience for all of them with the writing group. And there's about 6 of them that have decided that they've got this bug now, this writing bug, and that they want to continue writing their memoirs. And so Morpheus Publishing is helping. And you guys, by purchasing one of the books through resiliencemindset.com.au or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major platforms there, will help with that. So 25% of the profit is going directly back to MS research, not into admin or anything like that, but straight into research. And the other 75% is going towards profit with purpose and some scholarships putting forward that once the writers have finished their books, that Morpheus Publishing will definitely help them publish all their books. So we started off with this little project, which has turned into, by the end of the writing and everything, a bigger project and a lot bigger than what we thought it was ever going to be. We thought we were trying to get 20 people into the book.
And we did start out with 10 thinking, look, let's be conservative.
Yeah.
And, within a few days, I think it went to 20, and then it was like,
and then it just kept growing and went, we've got to cut it off now. We've been asked if we're going to do continue doing this, and the answer is definitely yes. We are going to bring out volume 2 for that. So if you are sitting out there and you're listening and you know someone, or even you yourself would like to contribute into the next book, please just email us at hello@justinemartin.com.au. The details will be in the show notes, and you'll be able to pick up all the contact details there and put in an expression of interest that you'd like to be in it, or maybe you'd like to write your whole memoir, and we can help you do that as well by directing you into the Morpheus writing group. And it is actually funded under NDIS, under community access, community activity in your core there. So the community that has been built with these authors now, the group that are together, has just been amazing, and friendships have been formed from it. And when they started, they were just Joe Blow. Now they are published authors, and I know that they're also excited to be reading each other's chapters and seeing that as well.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So now Justine's normally the one interviewing everyone. So I'm going to actually ask her a few questions, put her in the hot seat, because of course she's the brains and everything behind this amazing project. So Justine, I wanted to ask you a few questions, but firstly, tell me, like, how did you come about this idea about doing this book, bringing in all these authors? I mean, of course I know because I've been working alongside of you, but not everyone knows how things actually start. So can you give us just a bit of an idea of how the whole thing began?
Sure, Suzie. I've actually co-authored 4 anthology books over the last couple of years. So I've had experience in writing and putting things together and all of that. Then at the end of last year, I wrote an article for the website Mamma Mia, and that was about Selma Blair, Christina Applegate, and myself all having MS. We're all linked with that common thread, but our journeys were so different. And the damage that can do in the media, and seeing a celebrity out there who has all the money in the world and access to all these supports, yet, you know, those of us mere mortals don't, and our journeys are all so different. And then we got chatting a bit, and I'm like, oh, why don't we do our own anthology book? I feel this needs to be on a bigger scale than just me telling my story as well. And we just ran from there. And like Suzie said, we thought, oh, if we could get 10 authors, we'd be going well. And then we went, oh, maybe we could get 20. And we ended up having to cut it off, saying 26 is enough for us, I think.
More.
Yeah, no more in this one.
Next book, next volume.
We'll put you in the next one.
Yeah,
and that's how it came about. And then it was like, okay, let's sit down. And I know when I did the other anthology books that I wasn't in a writing group. I belonged to another writing group to write those, but I wasn't in one that was purely dedicated for writing the chapter. I mean, we had in previous ones, we'd have a meeting, you know, every couple of months on how's it going, you know, are you meeting your deadline and stuff like that. But we never spoke about the nitty gritty of actually writing and what they should be doing next. And I wanted to make this project as easy and as streamlined as we possibly could. And because we are dealing with people with cognitive impairment, to make it easier for them. And so they weren't alone in doing this as well, and to form that community, which is what we did.
Yeah. And how did everyone feel like coming into those writing groups and meeting other people and starting to write the chapter? Did you find that it was quite an easy process for them to get going?
It really
that support
was.
For each other?
Everyone was there with the same message. Everyone was there who wanted to raise awareness for MS and raise this money for a cure. And people were quite open from the start. There were a few that struggled with the whole technical side of it, and I helped them individually. There were some people, we had some of the authors that can't actually use their hands anymore. So it was a matter of then trying to sit down with them via Zoom and work out, okay, how are we going to approach this? How are you going to write your chapter? What do we need to do to order to, you know, adapt and modify in order that you can still, you know, reach the deadlines and all of that. And we did that. We achieved all of that. So some of the chapters, they still came into the writing group every week, which gave them then what they wanted. They knew what they wanted to write, but just then getting it down on paper was the harder thing. So I would sit there and interview them, and we'd get the transcript, and then I'd edit the transcript. So there was a lot going on in the background. Edit the transcript for them and then send it back to them, and then have another meeting and say, are you happy with this? Is this what you want to say? And, oh, no, can we change this line? Can we change this word? It's like, yep, nothing was too hard for us to do for it. And, you know, when the chapters started getting submitted in, and someone would hop on, and like people would submit their chapter and then still come back into the writing group. And it's like, yeah, well, I've done mine, but I'm still here because, you know,
bit of socializing.
That's what it was all about, was to build up that community,
and support,
and their tribe and the support through it all. And it's like, well, keep writing. if you finish now, keep writing. Now, we did put a word cap on each of the chapters. Some of them didn't listen or just chose to ignore that to start with. So, you know, some of the first drafts came in at about 7,000 words. I'm like, oh, sorry, guys, you've got to cut some stuff out of there because that isn't going to fit too well into the book.
It's a book, not a dictionary.
Yeah, that's right. Or it's not your own personal memoir, so to speak. So it's like if you can write that many words, have you thought about writing a memoir? And they're like, oh, so they've continued writing, obviously, into their memoirs. But the whole project has just been fun to work on, even though it's been a really serious subject matter. We still have had fun throughout the whole process, recording the podcast, the vlogcasts, as well as each chapter that has come in. And I'm so proud. I can't say this highly enough. I'm so proud of what each author, and I can call them authors now, has achieved in this book and what it's going to do for the MS community in a whole.
Absolutely. And just how much you've supported everyone along the way, and the relationships that you would have built as well would be so special.
Oh, huge. There's one author who does artificial flower arrangements, and my daughter's getting married, so I've just commissioned her to do all the bouquets for the wedding. So the tie, what's the word? I'm having a brain fart moment here. MS brain fart. The
bouquets.
The partnerships.
Collaborations.
That's the word. I'm looking for. That's why she's on the big bucks. The collaborations that have come from this. I know with one of the authors, Alison Brown, and myself, we now have another podcast called MS Unmasked. So that's come from this project.
It's fantastic.
We're also bringing out another book, which I'm keeping most of that hush hush, and it'll be out on World MS Day on the end of May next year, and that's a big project. I was at my neurologist this morning getting my MRI results and was talking to him about our project, and he can't wait to share that as well, and the MS podcast, which is MS Unmasked. So if you do have MS, pop on there, and we're always after questions on topics that you want us to discuss each week as well. So there's been quite a few collaborations that have come out of this project, which is fantastic, and I can see more, coming through as well.
And that's great, because that's just keeps evolving then as it goes. Now let's have a little bit of a chat about your chapter. It's a very rare one, this chapter, because you're seeing it from 3 different perspectives. So from a child whose mother was diagnosed with MS when you were quite young, from a child's point of view, from a carer, because I know that you were your mum's carer as well, and then after you got diagnosed as well. So it's quite an amazing chapter in the sense that you're coming from a number of different perspectives. Firstly, how that must have felt quite amazing to be able to write that chapter from so many different perspectives. But how did you feel about writing that chapter?
Well, when I started, so my chapter was pretty much the last to be written, because I've had to edit and transcribe and do quite a few of the other ones. So mine was on the back burner, and then I was getting to the deadline. I'm like, I've really got to get mine written. And I started it, and that's when I'm like, oh, hang on, I've got a bit more to say in this. And from a child who, I remember when Mum first got sick, and we're going back to 1981. So it was a long time ago, and that'll give you an indication on how old I am. And and then, how my mum was diagnosed, and then from the eyes of being a carer and the role reversal that her and I had, and I was in my late teens when that happened, and early 20s, and then, the decision of having to put her into long-term care and not being able to look after her, and it was tough. It was really, really tough. I mean, you live with these memories and you know that they're part of your history, but then when you see them in black and white and you read over them, I even cried when I read my own chapter. So it has, put me back into some counselling to deal, and I know that happened with a few of the other authors as well.
Is that right?
When
Wow.
they wrote their chapters,
Yeah.
is, you know, it's put in the back in this little section in your brain, and then when you bring it through, you're reliving it again.
Bringing it all, and it makes it a lot fresher then, doesn't it, in your
that's
mind?
right. And so I thought, you know, counselling about it, and also counselling on just, you know, I've read everyone's chapter at least 3 or 4 times. So I've been a lot of reading throughout all of this, and, you know, just my emotions and that going through it all. But to see it all on black and white, my chapter is a lot longer than everyone else's. And that's because I put the book together. So I took that right into doing that.
You know the boss.
Yeah, I know the boss. She wasn't going to sack me. I did ask a few times. But I hope that I've done my mum's story justice. So the way I saw it wasn't just my story, it was my mum's story as well. And, you know, mum passed away at the age of 49 from complications from this bloody disease. And,
and how old were you again at that age?
I was 26.
26,
Yeah.
And what age were you when your mum was diagnosed?
9.
9. Okay. So you it's a long, long time, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, listeners, I'm now 52. So, you know, 40, whatever, how many years it is, 40-something years, MS has been part of my life from it. So, you know, it took away my mum through, you know, my childhood. It took away my mum through my teenage years, and then it took away my mum for the rest of my life. So that has been one of my driving forces on this, is to raise funds for a cure. And I was only thinking the other day, and I've mentioned this a few times in some of the other podcasts, that wouldn't it be good that this book becomes a history book, that one day when we have a cure, and I hope that they find it in my lifetime, that it then is a cure. It is a history book that people can pick off the shelves and say, oh, this is what it used to be like to live with MS, but we don't have that in our community, our society anymore, and the human race, and that this book becomes a part of history.
That would be extraordinary if that is the case.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling now that you finished your chapter and it's gone off to be edited? And
woohoo! Bring on the next one.
It must have been such what an accomplishment, though, just to finish your own chapter. I mean, 26 people have actually experienced this, you know, part of the book, but you've read every chapter and you've sent your own off as well. Yeah. It must be such a great feeling.
Oh, a huge feeling, bit of relief and stuff off the shoulders there. To tell you the truth, I haven't. So we're filming this, guys, in July. I haven't even read through the edits on my chapter because I totally trust the editor in the process, and I will have a quick read through in the next couple of days because we're in the process of typesetting the book up at the moment and doing all the QR codes and everything like that. And that's why we're recording this so early, is so we can have the QR codes ready to go in the book, because I really want you to all experience the whole thing about each author, to listen to their words, to hear them, read the chapter, and then you can use the QR code to come back and forth and find each person on there, and it'll be on YouTube for eternity. Yeah. Unless something happens to YouTube. But it was a big relief when I hit send to hit mine off. So I wrote my chapter in under 24 hours. So I wrote my chapter in one day over the weekend. And that fortnight I'd written 20,000 words. So I'm pretty good at writing nowadays. And I know that I'm writing my memoir as well, which Suzie has been at me now for, when are you going to get your book finished? 2 years. So that's the next big project for me to work on at the end of the year is getting my my book finished.
Now, I know you've asked a number of the authors this question, so I actually want to ask you this question. With the allocated numbers in your book, and we're trying to keep to a certain length for everyone that's writing, is there something in there that you found that you couldn't put in there that you want to chat about now?
Oh, where do I start? Yeah, look, there is things. I mean, I didn't go too much into my daily life on the pain that I'm in and, everything that has gone wrong. I definitely covered in my chapter quite a lot of the things that had gone wrong and as a result of medication and my body failing me and genetic predispositions and stuff like that. But look, I am very happy with how much I did cover in my chapter, and hence why mine is a bit longer as well than everyone else's. But you'll all have to wait for the memoir for everything else that's not in there.
So a bit of a teaser on the book that will hopefully maybe come out in early next year. Maybe.
We're working on that.
And what's your hope for this book? So I know, like, we're at the stage now where we're finalizing everything, we're doing design. So when this book launches and it hits the market, like, what is your big hope for this book?
That we raise so much money for MS research and it finds a cure. That's my big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could donate $100,000 back to MS?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be just an amazing feat to do that? And the amount of people that we can then help with scholarships and that as well on top of it would be massive. Massive. It would be a game changer for so many lives, just so many lives from that. For it to become, Amazon best-selling a book would be amazing. This is available also on Kindle, so it's not just a paperback version, but we're going to the extent that it is going to be electronic, and also recording it for Audible. So I've got my little sound pod all set up, and I'm going to be recording 23 of the chapters, and the other 3 I've got a male voice that is going to be doing it, because I thought it would be a bit weird if a female read the male parts. So I do have a guy organised to go into the sound pod. The sound pod, do you know what the sound pod is?
Yes.
Where is it?
In your room.
In my wardrobe. We're using my wardrobe.
Sound and lovely soundproof room in there, just you and your shoes.
Yes, and my $40,000 worth of clothes in there as well, Suzie. So
and some.
So I'm hoping to get that done in the next 6 weeks, and then that'll be also available on Audible. We're trying to cover everyone.
Yeah.
So for those that can't read, we'll be able to listen to it. For those that can't listen, we'll be able to read. And for those that can't see, we'll be able to listen to it as well. So if you want to contact any of the authors themselves, please direct all the mail through Morpheus Publishing, myself at hello@justinemartin.com.au, and I can organise that for any of the people. I know that some of the bios do include their social handles as well, because some of them are still running businesses, and like Lachlan, he's got his photography, which is amazing, and so his Instagram page and that is on there. There's one that she owns, a disability gym, so her details are in there as well, and
that's fantastic.
It's just been an amazing experience.
Yeah. So Resilience Mindset was launched a few years ago, and then recently Morpheus Publishing has been launched. So this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, project you've done through Resilience Mindset.
It is.
How does that feel to really get to that stage now where you're going to be launching this great book to the market, when you started doing your business plan for Morpheus Publishing, and where you actually saw that part of the business going?
Well, Susie's not going to like this, because let me tell you where my business plan started for Morpheus Publishing. That was on the loo. So we were sitting in this very room that we are now, and I had my first book that I'd wrote and illustrated, a children's book, and I'd got 5 contracts back, submitted out 31 submissions to publishers and got 5 back, and looked at those contracts and went, no, they're not going to let me do what I want to do. And we were tossing and turning what we were going to do, weren't we? And I went off to the loo and came back and went, let's start a publishing business. And Susie's like, what? You're already gone for a minute. You remember saying that? And I'm like, that's all it takes. Now we're going to action it. And then I went, well, I'd really like to, with Morpheus Publishing, publish self-help books and memoirs of other people who have extraordinary stories to tell. And that's how Morpheus started. And Morpheus means the Greek god of dreams. So not out of the Matrix, before the Matrix, the Greek god of dreams. And this project has actually done that. It has helped so many people who have dreamed of being authors and telling their story to the wider population, and they've gone ahead and done that. So where to with Morpheus now is to keep publishing more books and to help as many people tell their stories and put them out there, particularly those that are having trouble writing themselves because of their disabilities and still have that story that they want to be told and help them do that. So that's where we're at.
And have that support to be able to.
And we also, not just for disabled people, but all abilities as well. So anyone out there that may be listening and you've got a great story that you'd like to tell, or poetry, where one of the authors, she's written these amazing poems, and she can't move from the neck down. So that was a challenge writing her book, but she's also an amazing mouth painter. So she holds the paintbrush in her mouth and we'll do it that way. And so she's publishing a mini memoir and all her poems together. So, any genre that we can,
that's amazing.
We can do.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure, I'm not sure how many people out there know this, but Justine has been an MS ambassador for a very, very long time, really trying to get that positive message and get that build that awareness in the market and education and done keynote speaking for a very long time to really drive awareness of MS across Australia. I'm
open to speaking events. let's get that plug in there, and I'm off overseas next year. I've just got a speaking agent in America, so some of my dreams are being ticked off, and talking overseas at these events, I'll definitely be taking this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
And spruiking it, and far and wide. Out.
Yeah. And as a past MS ambassador and all the work that you've done, like, what's your hope and your dream that when people pick this up, they see it in the bookstores, or they might read about it on the MS Plus newsletters and all the socials that are going to be going out, hopefully seeing it on some TV and in the media and that as well. Like, what is your hope and dream that when someone picks that up, what it does? That
your life doesn't stop when you become disabled, that you can learn to adapt and modify around your disabilities, and that we are still all valuable members of society, contributing back into society in our own individual ways, and not to write us off and lock us in a cupboard because we have a disability. And for people to bring awareness of what this disease has done to people's lives. But the book is not all about doom and gloom. Let me specify that there is some impactful messages and stories in there, but there's also so much positivity in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the parts that I've read, it's really quite moving, but one thing that all the authors would do is make sure that there is like a positive ending to each chapter, isn't it? Because, life is going on and they're working out their journey and giving it their everything to really navigate.
That's right.
Yeah. So what do we know about the dates, Justine?
So the launch date, the book launch date in person is on the 14th of September. And that day, that night, the next day, it will be available online to purchase. I would say that afternoon, actually. It'll be online to purchase, and you can get it on Kindle and Amazon or just through Resilience Mindset. If you are interested in coming to the book launch, please get in contact with us and we can give you all the details and the link to register for that as well. And if you are interested in contributing into the next book or know someone, please, again, email us the details.
Having known you now for a couple of years, I know that one of the biggest motivators to really drive all the businesses that you work across is to really help people.
Yes.
And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learnt with Justine, her positive energy, her tenacious attitude to just always go out there and help people, which is what is really quite amazing about you. What do you think this is going to do for all those people that need help, that haven't had that support, that really need someone to be there for them? How do you think that's going to help them?
Look, I think once they read everyone's chapters, you could be sitting there at home at the moment and something's happening with your body and you think that you're the only person that's gone through it.
Yeah.
By reading this book, you'll see someone will say something in that book and it'll have an impact on your life without a doubt.
Yeah.
And you'll realize that you're not alone and that one of the main themes throughout the book is that everyone asks for help.
Yeah.
And that asking for help is a sign of strength and not a sign of weakness. And that none of us could be where we are in our journeys with MS unless we'd ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. So when are you thinking book 2?
Oh, well. Well, I'm already starting to compile a list of the authors.
That's exciting.
Potentially we'll start an authors group early in the new year.
Yeah.
The next one. I've got some overseas trips to do this year.
Yeah.
And I really want to give this book my whole energy into it, as well as running Morpheus writing groups at the moment. The next book, definitely we'll be taking submissions straight away and then looking at a mid-January kickoff date for that. And then I would love the next book to come out in May.
Yeah.
For World MS Month.
Yeah.
Or for the MS month.
Oh, the month, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If not World MS Day as well. It'd be cool to have 2 books launch on World MS. Maybe
well, if
3.
you've got anything to do with it, I'm sure it actually will.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's been lots of people contacting with a lot of the work that you've been doing overseas and that as well for driving awareness for MS. Is there any conversational thoughts about doing an international MS book?
You mentioned that, Suze. Yes, there is. I've got a lot of contacts overseas that have MS, and we are looking at doing an international book. So if you're listening from overseas and would like to contribute into a book as well, that one will happen next year. We've got a few other projects on the go as well. So there'll be quite a few books that Morpheus will bring out in the next 12 to 18 months in regards to MS as being the theme through there as well. We want to try and help as many people and spread the message out there with these books.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, it's been great kind of actually putting Justine in the spotlight and in terms of talking, because she's always the one behind the microphone asking the questions. So just thank you for this chat. It's actually been really good. It's been good to get an insight from the person behind the idea, behind the book, behind everything going on here. Is there one last thing that you would like to add?
Yeah, buy the book. Well,
sign here.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the other authors would like to sign their copies. Look, just buy the book. Buy the book. Buy it as a Christmas present. Buy it for someone who has MS who's struggling. Buy it for a carer of someone with MS and give it to them. Buy it for yourself and read it, because even if you don't have MS, you will gain so much out of this book and all the stories.
I absolutely agree. And I think that's from where I come from as well. Like, I don't suffer from MS, but what I got from it was absolutely incredible. But just the understanding of MS as well was just really
the human
amazing.
Resilience that every single chapter shows on how they've adapted and modified and gained that resilience in their life is just outstanding. They're all outstanding individuals.
And no wonder you're known as the Queen of Resilience then.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, just buy the book, resiliencemindset.com.au or Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of those platforms. If you can't find it online, just email me and I'll make sure that we can get you a copy at hello@justinemartin.com.au, and all the details will be in the show notes as well, whether you're listening to this on a podcast or you're watching the vlogcast.
Fantastic. Thank you, Justine. I cannot wait to see this book. We've talked about it so much. To actually finally get a copy and actually hold it in your hand is actually going to be extraordinary. So thank you for chatting with me today.
You're welcome,
It's
Suzie.
been wonderful. So thank you.
And thanks for coming on, because Susie's normally never on camera. She's always behind the scenes giving me direction. So thank you for popping on today as well. And thank you for all the help that you have done behind the scenes, because you're the one that's done all the computer stuff that my brain does not allow anymore the capacity to do that with my brain injury. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
And until next time, our next edition, Volume 2, comes out next year. You all stay healthy and safe.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.